You've heard it again and again. You need $1 million to retire. But what if I told you that's just not true? What if you could retire on far less and still live well? Let's talk about this. Hi, I'm Roxanne, and welcome to Reinventing Me at 60, where we talk honestly about retirement, reinvention, and designing a life that you love on your own terms. If you've ever worried that you'll never have enough to retire, this video might just change everything for you. Let's start with where this whole idea originally came from. We didn't always believe we needed $1 million to stop working. This idea actually started in the 80s and 90s when financial media advisors, investment firms needed a simple, powerful number to get people saving and investing their money. It worked and it stuck. And it sold a lot of books and mutual funds. Then came the 4% rule. Withdraw 4% of your savings per year and supposedly never run out of money, which meant $1 million or $40,000 a year. Add government pension and hey, you are good to go, right? But that's only one version of retirement, and it's based on a lot of assumptions. So now we know where the $1 million myth came from. Let's talk about what it's actually doing to people today and why it's become an obsession that might be holding you back. Have you ever found yourself Googling, how much do I need to retire? You scroll through calculator after calculator, article after article, searching for that magic number that says, yes, you're allowed to stop working. But what do you find? You find answers like, you need $1 million, or you need 1.5 million, or even 2.5, in a time when most people are still working and paying off their mortgages and helping their adult kids. That number doesn't bring them peace, it brings panic. Here's the truth. That number is not a one-size-fits-all. So instead of fixating on the number, what if we flip the question entirely? Instead of asking, how much do I need to retire? Let's ask a much better question of how much does my life actually cost? Let's break this down with simple personal math. No scary calculators needed. Say your ideal retirement lifestyle costs you $3,000 a month. That includes your housing, your food, medication, healthcare, maybe a few splurges. Now, let's say you're eligible to receive $2,000 a month from CPP and OAS or Social Security. That leaves a $1,000 gap each month. That's $12,000 a year you'll need to withdraw from your savings. Using the 25 times rule, which really is just the 4% rule flipped, you multiply the $12,000 a year times 25, which gives you $300,000. That's it. Not $1 million, not $2 million, just enough to fill the gap between what you need and what you already have coming in. And this is where the mindset shift happens. Most of us have been taught to ask, how much do I need to retire? But the better question is, how much do I need to cover the difference between my guaranteed income and my lifestyle? That number is smaller. It's not $1 million typically, and that number is achievable. It's personal, and it puts the whole power back in your hands, not the hands of some financial planner. Now, sometimes people say, wait, if I'm spending $12,000 a year from my savings over 25 years, isn't that $300,000 in withdrawals plus $300,000 in savings? Doesn't that mean I need $600,000 or even more? Here's the thing, that's double counting. If you're investing your savings, earning even a modest return, you don't need to stockpile 25 years of expenses in cash. The 25 times rule assumes your money is still working for you, not just sitting there. You're not withdrawing $12,000 each year from a fixed pot until it's empty. You're taking small amounts while the rest continues to grow. So again, you need 300,000, not 600,000, and definitely not a million. And with CPP and OAS already covering a big portion of your needs, often inflation adjusted, that gap you've saved just might be smaller than you think. That's right, CPP and OAS are indexed for inflation. So even as the cost of living goes up, your government income rises too. That means basic income is already protecting you against one of retirement's biggest worries. Even as the cost of living goes up, your government income rises too. That means your basic income is already protected against one of retirement's biggest worries. You only need to inflation-proof your gap. And with smart investing, that's totally doable. Now let's meet some people who are living these truths and retiring well on far less than $1 million. Let's look at the frugal homebody. Mary is 67 years old and lives in a mortgage-free condo. Her expenses are $2,200 a month. Between her CPP and OAS, she brings in $1,850 a month. That leaves a $350 a month gap. She saved $120,000 in RSPs and invested conservatively. Using the 4% rule, she can safely withdraw $400 a month. Mary is covered. She doesn't travel much. She lives simply and doesn't need $1 million to feel secure. Now let's look at the moderate explorer couple, Donnie and Marie, 63 and 65. They retired early and delayed getting their CPP until they're 70 in order to max out the amount that they could receive. They have about $500,000 in savings and they spend about $4,500 a month. For now, they're drawing on their own investments. At 70, they will receive $3,500 combined from CPP and OAS, indexed to inflation. They'll only need to withdraw $1,000 or less after that. They chose the early retirement route and used their flexibility to make it work. Lastly, we have the flexible nomad, 60-year-old Jake. Jake doesn't own a home. He house sits, travels slowly, and lives on $2,000 a month, thanks to geo arbitrage in Portugal and Mexico. Jake has $250,000 in investment and part-time freelance income. At 65, he'll get CPP and OAS. He's not relying on them yet, but they'll eventually reduce or even eliminate the need to draw on his savings. Jake's lifestyle shows that creativity and flexibility can make up for not having a massive nest egg. These aren't fantasy cases. They're real examples of what's possible when you stop chasing this mythical number and start designing your lifestyle that suits and matches your values and desires and reality. And here's the powerful truth. We're hearing more and more stories about people who are retiring comfortably on $500,000 or less, not scraping by, not barely surviving. They're thriving because they got clear on what mattered, adjusted their lifestyle, and planned with intention. So what's the harm in believing the $1 million myth? a lot more than you might think. This myth makes us feel like we're always behind, always trying to catch up, to keep working, to keep saving and investing and pushing retirement farther and farther away because, well, we think we're not allowed to retire yet. But here's the truth. Many people can retire today if they stop believing they can't. The $1 million myth doesn't serve real people. It serves the financial industry. And that's why it's time to break free from it. Now, before we go farther, you might be wondering, what about inflation? Doesn't that change everything? We did touch on that a little bit earlier, but let's talk about it some more. Because yes, inflation does matter. Your money will need to stretch farther over time. But here's the good thing. Like I mentioned, CPP, OAS, and Social Security are indexed to inflation. Most retirees spend far less as they age. A simple conservative investment plan can often beat inflation. So yes, account for it in your plan. But don't let it scare you into choosing unrealistic numbers. So how do you figure out your real number? Let me walk you through that. So how do you figure out what you actually need? You need to start with knowing your monthly expenses, not your dream version, your real spending today. Use the last 3 to 6 months of your bank statements if that helps. Estimate your guaranteed income. That might include CPP, OAS, Social Security, defined pensions, annuities, stuff like that. Don't forget to account for when you'll start to receive those benefits. CPP and OAS continue to grow the longer you delay it. Then you go and you calculate the gap. Subtract your guaranteed from your total expenses. That's the amount your savings will need to cover. Then you go and you multiply the gap by 25. That gives you the target savings number using the 4% rule. That's your enough number, not someone else's number. And remember, if your gap is too large right now, you can shrink it. Downsizing your home, moving somewhere with a lower cost of living, even part-time. Earning a part-time income from some side gig. Delaying CPP and OAS to increase your monthly benefits. Traveling slower and less frequently. You have more control than you think. Still not convinced it's possible? Let me share you a bit of my story. When I walked away from work, I didn't have $1 million saved. I had a few pensions, RSP, I had some savings, but more than that, I knew what my enough looked like. And if you're wondering, I am waiting until I'm 65 to take my CPP and OAS. I'm living off of savings for now, but I am debt-free, which makes a huge difference. And I've never once regretted the decision to retire early. In fact, I've never felt more free. So let's wrap this up with one simple truth. You don't need $1 million. You just need a clear plan, a realistic view of your lifestyle, and the courage to retire when you're ready, not when someone else says you can quit your job. You need to stop asking, do I have enough? And start asking, what kind of life do I want? And can I afford that? You deserve a retirement that fits your life, not your fantasy. In the comments, tell me, what does enough look like for you? Let's challenge the myths and build real lives on our terms. If this video helped you reframe your retirement fears, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. If you've enjoyed this video, I think you're going to like this one. 8 things I wish I knew before retiring. Go watch it. Until next video.